What's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. I much appreciate it. Hey, Tobin and Leroy now streaming live on YouTube, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. every single weekday. Check us out there. Subscribe over there. And you're great. Thank you. I would appreciate that. You guys' support means a lot to me, and I'm always blown away by it. So the Dolphins, they just took in the ballots for the team MVP, the Dan Marino Team MVP Award, which I think is a fascinating discussion. We had a little bit of this earlier on in the year because I even made the argument. I think I was saying I think that Tyreek Hill was playing so balls out. There was an argument that he was not only, a team MVP. I thought there was an argument that he was the league MVP. He was just that good. It was just that dominant to start this season. He was on a record pace. He was, on pace to get, 2,000 yards. It was crazy what he was doing early on in the season. Now, he does look up at Justin Jefferson. This has still been the best year of his career. It is still a Miami Dolphins record. You got to give it up to the Cheetah. He's been everything and more that the Dolphins have wanted. Probably say that last week was like maybe his most disappointing game as a Dolphin, and he's taken ownership of that. Recognizing even like I make a lot of money. That ball that Skylar Thompson threw, I should have had that. Like he's really been top notch in all of that leadership stuff. When people thought, oh, he was going to come here, he was going to get the money, he's going to be a malcontent, and he's been anything but. So this comes up again because we're at the end of the year and can't really swing it, right? They're taking the votes this final week for the team MVP from the local media. And Tua's not going to play, it seems like. And Tyreek Hill, I think he's kind of made his impression anyway, right? Like, what could happen in the last week that would even solidify it even more? I guess, maybe he goes out there and balls out for Skylar Thompson, and that would put the stamp on it if you're a Tua guy. Because it is kind of a two-horse race, right? Like, if you're to look around the rest of the team, who else has an argument for it? People will bring up Teron Armstead. All respect to Teron Armstead. I have a tough time giving it to an offensive tackle to say he's the most valuable. He's on a unit. He's missed time. If we're going to put durability, I would imagine people are going to put durability as a thing against Tua in this argument. You have to argue that with Teron Armstead then as well, knowing that was probably going to be a thing coming into this year. So he hasn't been healthy the whole way. And I hate for that to be a detriment to him because we all know Teron Armstead has been playing through a lot of pain, has been a walking game of operation. And so the games that he has given you, even with the pec injury, the toe injury, everything, being held together by duct tape, still going out there and trying to give you an effort, I appreciate that he's been able to go out there and do what he's been able to do, knowing that he's been banged up. This, I think that if you were to put a top five together, I would say Teron Armstead's 3. I would say that's a fine argument for me if you want to put Teron Armstead as the third most valuable player. Defensive side, is anybody on this team worthy of being a defensive MVP? This has been an award. Xavier Howard has won this award before. I think he's won it multiple times, actually, the Dan Marino team MVP. Certainly not, surprisingly that he is a Pro Bowler this year. I think it surprised everybody. I think for this year, very much not the team MVP, not the defensive MVP. I think if it's going to be a defensive MVP, everybody would say if there's a defensive player of the year, if they did this, it's very clearly Christian Wilkins. And I would say if anybody on the defensive end had an ability to raise their hand and say, hey, I deserve my shine here, Christian Wilkins is certainly the guy. Record numbers from a defensive tackle to, just the impact, the growth that he's made with batting balls, disrupting people. He's just been a menace. He's been a menace. We've all seen the development in his game. He's going to make a whole lot of money in the offseason. He deserves it. He's been a captain. I think a lot of people had questions about whether, hey, is Christian Wilkins, is he going to be that dude? This guy was really supposed to be a culture setter for Miami coming into this team because of his success at Clemson and just such an affable personality, and nobody wants to play this guy. He will pull all stops out when it comes to agitating his opponents. He's scary. He's a scary dude, and also loves show tunes. So he's just got the whole package of being delightfully weird and also menacing. So Christian Wilkins, I think, deserves to be in that discussion there as well. I think that unit statistically just hasn't been as good. And even though I don't think they deserve the lion's share of the blame for the losing streak, I think that certainly goes to the offense and some of the disappointments that we've gotten from the offense and, the turnovers that the offense has put together. For the most part, the identity of this team this year, and that's the thing, it's tough in the middle of a losing streak to talk about the whole year because everybody's so down, so disappointed. You don't want to think back to the good times because you're so mired in the misery. But I think for this argument and this sake, listen, this is the votes were taken this week, and they're going to announce this week, and I'm curious to see which way it goes and where the media does vote on this. And for Wilkins, he's been awesome. He definitely deserves to be there. I'd say if it was going to be a fifth guy that you wanted to put in there, I'd probably say it would be Jalen Waddle. But, it's tough for Jalen Waddle to be above Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's been better this year, even though Waddle has been amazing. And I think most years, you look at a year Waddle's put together, he would be the Dan Marino MVP. So it really comes down to a question of Tua or Tyreek Hill, much like it was earlier on in the year when people were arguing, was Tua an MVP candidate? Was Tyreek Hill the Dolphins' best player? And I think for me, durability definitely has to be a question because it's part of the story with Tua. And it's head injuries. It's not like, knick-knack injuries. It's an unfortunate thing. And, Lord, he didn't miss one game that he was concussed with probably 2 games that he was concussed. He came back for the Bills game, and he played the Packers game concussed. So, this is not a question of Tua's toughness by any means. I think that's a stupid thing to question, quite frankly. But I would say if we're talking about a team MVP award, and we've talked about the past month, here's the thing that I would say. Tua, I would say, his most disappointing games would be San Francisco and the Chargers. And the Dolphins, the only reason that they even had any shots in those games before San Francisco got out of hand and before Chargers put away was because of Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had that wild touchdown that he just picked up the fumble and ran like out of nowhere. You remember that play? It was Sunday Night Football, squirts out, Armstead pitches him the ball. He just goes and gets a touchdown out of nowhere. He also got a bomb touchdown in that game as well. The only reason that they had a shot in that game was because of Tyreek Hill. San Francisco, same way, where it was like, they really got outplayed in that game, and the only reason that there was even a shot at any point was because of Tyreek Hill. Monster game by him. And there were other games like that too. Like Minnesota, he was all over the place. Almost 200 yards receiving in that game. And if it wasn't for Jalen Waddle's fumble, maybe Teron Armstead's maybe Tyreek Hill's keeping him in that game. So, while, you're not winning, I feel like there are many cases this year where Tyreek Hill was so good that even in the games they didn't win, I felt like Tyreek Hill gave them a chance to win. Where, you could look at the ball and, he doesn't get the ball every play. He doesn't touch the ball every play. Maybe he should. And certainly there's been these games where, he's gone out with cramping and come back like a superhero. I just feel like most defense, no matter what, even the Jets this weekend are going into, there's no Tua, but there's still got to be fear on their side. Even with, knowing they're going up against a late drafted quarterback, there has to be a little bit of fear because of Tyreek Hill. He's a game changer. He's been a game changer for the Dolphins. He has been. And I don't know what the future of Tua holds. I think that, I'd like to see them run it back with him. But even if they don't, let's just say the Dolphins go and they get another quarterback this year. Part of the reason any quarterback is going to want to come here is because number 10, the Cheetah, is here. He also, by the way, it's a franchise award. He broke a franchise record this year. And so, look, I'm a Tua guy. I think anybody who watches the channel know I'm a supporter of Tua. And I think that if you want to say, hey, quarterback should always get the nod over the receiver, it's just like them's the rules. Okay, I hear you. And for the most part, the best parts of this season have been with Tua at quarterback, and they don't win with any backup quarterback. When they have a backup quarterback in there, they don't win. They don't have a shot. They can't compete. when they have Tua, it's either they win or it's competitive. I hear you out. I think Tua, for me, I think Tua, did prove a lot this year. I do think that there's still some questions for sure. And that's, I think, another video for another day. But for me, I think that the team MVP this year is Tyreek Hill. I think that his ability to put fear in all defenses across the league, breaking a franchise record, even in the games that Tua didn't perform that well in, he still was making plays to even keep them in it. Last week was probably his poorest game of the season, which didn't come at a good time for sure. But I think for the most part, you look at that resume, you look at what he's done, the bomb touchdowns, the expanding of the field, all of that stuff, the opening things up for Jalen Waddle, all of that, the leadership that he's shown, the swagger that he's brought to the Dolphins, making the Dolphins in a lot of ways big time national relevant. I think for me, team MVP this year has to go to Tyreek Hill. Gets the nod over Tua. I think that he's just been that special. And Tua's number 2 for me. So if I was to do top 5, I would go 5 Waddle, 4 Wilkins, 3 Armstead, 2 Tua, and number 1 guy deserving of the award should be the Cheetah, Tyreek Hill. I get people who want to always put the QB first. I hear you out. But I think that Tyreek Hill's been so sensational this year that he should leapfrog his quarterback and get the award for team MVP, the Dan Marino MVP this year.